It has been 6 months since my Achilles tendon repair surgery, and it's been a boring 6 months. Well, not entirely. It's been boring in the sense that rehab is going on. It's boring in the sense that I have to do the same rehab exercises every single day. It's boring in the sense that the changes that happen are minuscule. At least it seems that way. I've had no grand milestones other than being able to walk more and less swelling or no swelling with the Achilles or with the heel, my foot. There's stiffness, of course. There is scar tissue, of course. But one thing that has been beating me is single leg calf raise. Whether that's doing it on its own or doing the double leg or both legs and then transferring weight to one side, to the left side, or that's putting my foot up on a step and doing it that way, or the opposite foot up on the step so that I can work on that single leg. That has been beating me, and that is the marker or one of the main markers of strength or improvement in the function of the tendon and the ability of my calf to contract in the way it needs to. It's been beating me. It's been beating me to the point where I got frustrated and was like, we're not making any improvements. Have we made improvements? Yes. Video evidence suggests that or shows that based on how I feel, it's been this, it's like this much. And so things like running, I've not been able to do, or I've been advised to avoid for the simple reason it makes sense to me. If I'm unable to do a single leg calf raise, then it makes sense that running wouldn't be a good idea. In other words, it would not support running because the thing about your ankle, if you don't know this, is if something is wrong in the joint or any place downstream, upstream gets affected. So that means with my heel being affected and the ability to and my ability to go up on my toes, it affects things like gait, which I've had to relearn. That's what I was doing in order to relearn to walk, even though still I have to remind myself of certain things when it comes to making a step or following through on stepping. And if those things are wonky or not happening very well, then things like your hips and low back get affected. How do I know? Because I experience pain every single week. And this is also connected to past injuries that were not properly resolved as far as core stabilization, fixing things with my pelvic floor, a whole bunch of things. So my with me spending as much time as I did on crutches, but also in a boot, and then walking with the boot and being uneven for so long, compensation happens. And then coming out of the boot and relearning to what that compensation is still happening or was still happening and probably is still happening. And so it shows up as pain elsewhere. The other thing too is if things are happening upstream, that can also affect. So if my hips and low back are bugging me, I think my body automatically goes into this protective mode for the foot. And so it translates into I'm feeling stiff, I'm feeling what's the word? Some tightness in my heel, and so I will start to limp. So for me, being 6 months, it's been more than 6 months actually. It's probably 26 weeks. I think it's probably been 26 weeks, closer to 27 weeks. That no, it's 28 weeks. Since that it's 28 weeks since I had my surgery, and so that's a long time. But realistically, the time frame that I've been told, and again reminded by my PT this week, is that 9 months to a year is technically when you would typically expect to see return to normalcy, and normalcy meaning things like run. I was watching a video the other day of a guy who was 20 something weeks post Achilles surgery, and he was running not on a treadmill but one of those true form treadmills, the ones that move when you move. And he was running on that. I attempted to run once for about a minute on the treadmill, and I suffered for it afterwards, which told me I was not ready to run. And realistically, I knew, but you test certain limits, and so I've not tested it. I can jump to an extent or push off and transfer weight from one side to the other. But when it comes to leaping and hopping per se, it's still limited. That said, I still can do a little jump, some pogo hops, um, some lateral hops I can do. I realize also that I'm kind of timid. I'm timid in pushing off because maybe there's some slight hesitation because of the fear of re-tear, and so I am being extremely cautious. I'm trying not to be so cautious that I don't attempt or don't try things, but I am still cautious enough not want to test it too soon. And so, am I bummed that I can't run right now? Kinda, because running, while it was not the best thing, or not, I'm not that big of a runner anymore. While I don't love running to that extent, I would do a run once a week, however short, as a way to help with my lung capacity, VO2 max and all that. But there are other ways to do that, and going to know on the rower is one such way for me to do that. So I have been rowing. Talk about big back, building your back. If there's one thing that I'm gonna end up with a big back out of all that rowing. And so this is where we're at 6 months. There's been no real big updates. I am down for the count as far as how many more weeks of physical therapy. I'm still in physical therapy. I went from once a week to every 2 weeks now. And truthfully, it is pretty boring. I've gotten up to, I'm doing 3 walks a day. These walks are anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour. I would do a long walk with my walking group on a Saturday or a weekend. And that's now I only do the hour. I don't do the full duration that they go for a walk for. But being able to walk more has been important to me, but also a relief that I'm now able to handle that. I still do get stiffness in the low back, and I do get tension and tightness and pain in the hip when I stand for too long without moving, or I spend a lot of time just generally on my feet and standing. So I don't give my back any opportunity to decompress. And so that adds up. So by the end of the day, I am a wreck and in pain. And it's not fun. So this is what I mean when I say recovering from Achilles tendon repair surgery is boring, but it's also not when you have recurring pain or referring pain from past injuries. So if you think that all the injuries you had when you were younger, maybe in your 20s, early 30s, and they're all healed, won't come back to bite you, especially if you cut short on the rehab back then, or the pain went away so you thought you were good. Get injured now and they will come back. So, especially if it's anything back related, it will flare up with a vengeance. I'm talking to you past athletes, and especially if you're a woman over a certain age, and especially if you're a woman over 40. Let me talk about that. If you're a woman over 40 and experiencing perimenopause, these things are going to come back. Not everybody has this experience, but I know far too many people who are experiencing this now. And so rehab is a never-ending process. The double whammy, or the complication or the complexity comes in because hormones are shifting, and so that impacts things like bone density, it impacts muscle mass, it impacts energy. Those things compounding on top of dealing with an injury, not fun. Do not recommend. 100, 0, negative 100 out of 10, do not recommend. That said, do make sure that you stay in touch and contact or get build your care team, because at this age having adequate care is important, but more so having practitioners and physicians and medical professionals that care and listen to you is extremely important, because it's very easy to be gaslit, especially as a woman and a woman over a certain age. It's easy, women in general get gaslit, but women going through perimenopause get gaslit so much, and then on top of that are being marketed to the same way they market to the 20+ year olds. But dieting, it went from dieting in one sphere, skinny, being skinny, what do they call it, skinny chic, the special K diet, that just take on a new form now for the age group of women that are experiencing these hormone changes. Now that everybody's talking about perimenopause and menopause, and more information is coming out and people are having open discussions, the marketing has shifted to the insecurities that we have, the supposed fixes that we need to make to our bodies, when what our bodies are going through is a natural process of being a woman, and being a woman aging. That's aging. And so while hormones are shifting, there are ways to navigate it. And there are so many options, or so many ways for us to navigate, because we all experience it differently. Not every body will require or want the same treatment. And so it's important that we find practitioners and caretakers who listen to us, who make us feel seen and heard, because nothing worse than us feeling like we're going crazy because nobody, understands, or worse, they dismiss, like I said, gaslight. They dismiss what you're going through, when one, the research is barely catching up, if at all, to what we are experiencing, and two, when you're dealing with misogynistic patriarchal standards, it makes advocating for yourself an uphill battle all the time. So that kind of diverted away from the original point, being recovering from Achilles tendon repair surgery as a 45-year-old perimenopausal woman has been equally boring and challenging. And honestly, I can't do nothing about that. I can't. It is what it is. So I encourage you to accept that. There's a level of freedom with accepting that things are shifting, and how you handle it, I think, is more important than trying to prepare or prevent it from happening, because you can't prevent certain things, and it's good to know. So it's important to, I would say, do your own research, but also find credible sources to consume the research from, to consume the information, so that you are in the know and you can make informed decisions when it comes to your care. Because if you go through something like Achilles tendon repair surgery, it's not just about doing the surgery and then you recover. No, it's doing the surgery, recovering from the surgery, but also navigating life as a middle-aged woman, dealing with all kinds of issues, hormonal issues, mood changes, hormonal changes. All of those things impact you. And when you feel like you're going crazy because people won't listen to you, or you're not being heard, you don't feel seen, you feel like you're the only one going through it. Thankfully, a lot of women are having conversations around this now, so we tend to feel, at least I think, the opportunity to find community is greater. And it's important to lean into that, so that your recovery, whether you have done surgery or not, but you are recovering in some way, or there's an issue that needs to be addressed that requires rehab, then it's important to lean into your community. It's important to be patient with yourself. It's important to be compassionate with yourself. It's important to trust what you know, how you feel, and express it in the best way possible to those who you are seeking assistance from, but also to those who are providing support to you. So that's what I gotta say, because this is also part of nourishment. So I talk about my Achilles tendon repair journey because I have to nourish myself throughout this process, or it impacts my nourishment or how I approach my nourishment. And so I invite you to look at how does this impact your nourishment, which means what nourishment practices do you have that help you through the journey or can help you through the journey in a way that makes the journey less painful, less stressful, because it's important. So pay attention to yourself, to you, to what you're feeling. You are not, you're not, uh, you're not catastrophizing. At least I would hope you're not catastrophizing, but your feelings are valid. Take a look at what is happening, what you're feeling, document as much as you can, share it with your team, your care team, and be dogmatic in uh, finding a solution, or be dogmatic in your care, meaning making sure that your care is to the level that you want, to the level that makes you feel like you're being cared for, because that's also important. I say being dogmatic about that. I don't mean being dogmatic in terms of not listening, because it makes no sense. You seek help and then you don't listen to the advice that you get. Granted, not all advice is going to be helpful, and it's important to have discernment. So it is my hope that you do have discernment, but also important to have support around you that enables you to make those decisions with discernment. That's it. That's all I gotta say. So thank you for sticking around, and don't forget, every piece of nourishment that you give yourself, you deserve it. And when it comes to your nutrition, especially, because we're always gonna go back to nutrition, no matter what is happening, nourishing yourself one bowl at a time is the best place to start. It's the best place to operate from. Take it one bowl at a time, every single time. Okay? Thanks for sticking around, and come back tomorrow. Yeah.